And we are live.
You guys see that, so I'm sorry.
And
It's
I
all right.
just got my booster vaccine, and now every time I fart, I Venmo my neighbor $30.
That's good.
I don't know.
Okay,
what that's
everyone,
about.
welcome. Today I've got a special guest. It's the first time we've had a Quaker on the show, so that's kind of cool. And my guest hosts are Jim Majors and Kelly Pearsall, Godless Granny. I'm going to try very hard, and trust me, it's going to be difficult for me. I'm going to try to stay silent for this one. I'm going to let them run the show. They're asking the questions. I have 6 questions here pre-written. So I will be putting them on the screen just like I'm in the live chat. They're going to be showing up on the screen. If there's a lull in the activity, or if you guys are maybe beating a dead horse, I'm going to inject one of these questions onto the screen, or a question from someone in the live chat, question or comment. So be looking at that on the screen. Otherwise, say it again.
Why don't you kick us off with one of yours so you don't have to come up with one?
I'm going to start off with one of mine.
With a joke question.
Okay.
Do you like oatmeal?
Hang on to that, Kelly. That's kind of a great, funny first question. Let's start with the guest of honor, Gary, and let's do plugs at the top of the show. So who are you, and where can people find you? And I believe you have a couple charities you want to promote.
Sure. My name's Gary, formerly known as Boss 103, now known as formerly Beatlemaniacs XS, which is a bit of a mouthful, so I try to keep it Gary to make it more palatable. I'm from the UK, as you can probably tell from the accent, from the north of England, namely Manchester. I am a Christian, a Quaker, and I've been a Quaker for now close to a decade, probably about 8 years, maybe a bit less. The charities I want to promote is the Veterans Charity of the US, and also the charity about which deals with neurodiversity, untypical diversity like dyspraxia and dyslexia, because I have dyspraxia. So both of those are secular charities, which hopefully you don't mind throwing some dollars towards. I know it's the Christmas period, but hopefully you don't mind throwing some dollars their way so they can do important research.
Jim.
Hi, I'm Jim Hall. I'm the host of Atheist Edge. I live in Texas, and I hate the Marines.
Wait,
I'm supposed to be doing me.
Shit.
Sorry.
Okay, that's good.
I'm Jim Majors. Some people like to throw a doctor on the front of it. I hold a PhD in Hebrew Bible from Columbia International University. And I was a Christian for most of my life. I have been an atheist for about 6-7 years now. And I like long walks on the beach and pina coladas.
I'm going to have that song stuck in my head the rest of the day. All right, Kelly. Oh, and your channel is Jim Majors now, not... I forgot what it was. A Disciple of Kairos. That's gone. So it's Jim Majors.
Yeah, it's gone. Yeah, just youtube.com/Jim Majors, or I'm on Twitter mostly at the Jim Majors.
Okay. Kelly.
Okay. I'm Godless Granny, and my channel is Godless Granny. My most recent video that I just premiered yesterday is on the infighting of the new Independent Fundamentalist Baptist Church. And if you enjoy watching a bunch of preachers preaching against each other, you can have a laugh there. I have a show coming up soon where I am going to guest host for Vice Rhino. And if anyone does not know, Vice Rhino's wife recently passed away very suddenly and unexpectedly. And a couple people, myself included, were given the honor of being able to guest host a show for him to give him some time off with his family. And I've finished mine, but I don't know what the schedule is, so I have absolutely no idea when it will be coming up. I also have been a Christian most of my life. I've kind of gone back and forth because I was raised Catholic until I was 7. My parents left the Catholic Church, and then most of my upbringing was more agnostic. But I became a fundamentalist Christian at age 16 and remained so for 42 years, and have now been an atheist for 2 years.
2. I keep forgetting it's been such short time. That's so crazy. Everyone already knows this. This is more for Gary's sake, but Jim Hall. I am a cradle atheist. I have never believed. I started questioning at age 8. Identified as agnostic and identified as an atheist at age 15. I have never prayed ever in my life, not once. Never prayed. Never even attempted it. Never even gone through the motions. I have nothing on my schedule, which kind of blows me away. I'm looking at it now. No upcoming shows. I've got if you're in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, I'm speaking at a Unitarian Universalist church on February 6th. That's way down the road.
So
I'm
cool.
talking about the culture war and we've done the talk a million times, but Courtney and I, my co-host, we don't agree on it. I think atheists in large part had something to do with starting the culture war in 2011. She thinks it's the rise of the internet. I tend to maybe start believing her now, but I think the atheist community is one of the catalysts for it. Anyway, so that's the talk. I can give you more details if you want, if you're in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Okay, guys, let's go with Kelly's. It sounds like a joke question, oatmeal, but I'm sure you guys already know this. I bet Gary does. I bet all of you know it. Kellogg, the cornflakes and the oatmeal, and how it was originally designed because they believe spicy food increased your sexual desire. So the bland food, okay, Gary is shaking his head, so we can start there. And also they wanted to take it further. I think it was Kellogg or it was maybe a Quaker. I know Nixon was a Quaker, but they were even talking about to prevent females' sexual desire, a 1 drop of carbolic acid on the clitoris. So start there.
I mean, oatmeal is bland, and all, but the sound really turns me on. I don't know, so I can't do it.
I mean, I know that Kellogg was a very into certain sexual practices were not allowed. So he actually there's a film that Anthony Hopkins did where he plays Kellogg called Return to Wellville or Welcome to Wellville, something like that, where he plays Kellogg and Matthew Broderick's in it, and it's very weird. Anyway, no, William Penn is the guy behind Quakerism. He's the guy with the stupid hat. And yes, I do like oats, but that's really because I'm on a diet at the moment. I mean, I'm trying to translate this into American money. I was 285 pounds or 290-ish. I'm now about 240.
Congratulations.
Oh, wow.
Nice work.
Quite a drop.
So, the thing is that, so yes is the answer, but more for diet reasons than it is. Because trust me, porridge is a little bit bland for me. I don't know. I mean, maybe it isn't for you guys, but it is a bit bland for me because I like more sugar unfortunately means more fat. So, I've had to learn that recently.
I grew up eating grits. That was my my breakfast.
Cool.
That sounds like a law in the action. Question number 1. Earlier last week, someone said posted in social media that religion has set our human species back 1,500 years, and you had something poignant to say about that, Gary. First off, no, it hasn't. And then you go into explain it. I was wondering if you could attempt to just explain it here, why religion is not a detriment, how it has not set us back.
Well, to me, the biggest thing that's held us back is capitalism. Because the thing is that it's all about who has more and who has less. Now, literally, we were in 2021. We have 3 people doing who are competing to do a space race who are private citizens. They're not part of NASA. They're not part of any particular country. Well, part of the countries they are, obviously, but they're private citizens. They have more money than most people will ever look at in their life. And there's people who literally starving to death, having to use, soup kitchens and, food banks. Well, I'm going to talk about my own country. Maybe this doesn't apply to yours, but food bank use in my country has gone up and up and up. I think it's now at 2 billion people who have to use it. And this isn't a Western, funded, this is not some backyard, African nation which has gone through a drought for the last 40 years. This is literally a 21st century Western state where a lot of its citizens can't afford to feed themselves and stuff like that. So that is a detriment to society. What people believe isn't, because again, unless they're being hateful about it, which is unless they're promoting, let's say, an anti-science agenda, being creationists, or promoting, let's say, for example, trying to think of it, like an anti-LGBT agenda, because again, I myself, I'm not anti-LGBT in a form. Again, the stuff that I still don't understand about the trans community, but again, I want to learn, because again, I'm still not that up on everything, but I still want to listen to people who are from that community to educate myself on it, because again, it's something that I've never had to go through, and I think those of us who assess need to be more open to listening. but I can say without doubt that nobody cares what bathroom you go into. Because again, I can tell you as somebody who uses bathroom, I don't care who's using the bathroom to the left or right of me, or who's on the flaming, who's using the stall next to me. But hey, there you go. I think that's more detrimental to say than what people believe.
As a Shaker, as a Quaker, tell us a little bit about your beliefs specifically as to what is your position on the Bible?
Which one? As a whole, you mean? I think it was, people, God telling it to people, and people, interpret it how they wish. Now, the thing is that the more fundamentalists will take it as written, whereas those of us who are more, I hate to use the word more moderate, because again, moderation's in the eye of the beholder, really, to be honest with you. But those of us who actually have looked at other writings like, Augustine, Kant, people like that, Thomas Aquinas, that people like that know that, it was a work, that was written at different times, for different purposes. Psalms, for example, is a songbook, is poetry. It's trying to tell a poetic story to make maybe points that you can use in your life. Like, for example, I'm trying to think of something that's poetic that people use in their lives. Like, for example, I don't know. But like, for example, the story, the thing about Jesus is, he's like, for example, Sun Tzu was trying to say something good. And the thing is, people will take out of context things he said to try and promote whatever agenda they want to promote. My thing is, I'd rather follow what the guy's trying to say. Now, again, is it easy? No. But again, life isn't easy. Sometimes it is a struggle to do the things he commanded us to do. So it depends on which part of the Bible you talk about. Like, for example,
well, really, the main thing I was asking is, do you think the Bible is the Word of God? Do you think it's handed down by God to people to write down?
Like, are you more reformed, or do you believe it's like illuminated into your like interpretation?
I think that God denoted it for people to read, but like for example, he would send people down to be an example. And people wrote those examples down for us, even if it was like several years after the fact, because those people had an impact on that culture at the time, and they thought it was important that we follow, for example, King David. I mean, it depending on your sense of polyamory, or homosexuality or whatever, you might not like David, for example.
Do you think that like the interpretation is like divinely guided, or like that it is? Or that it's just like some cultural wisdom that's still applicable today?
I think it's still applicable today, the same way that I think the art of war is applicable.
But it's not divine at all. You don't believe?
No, I do believe it's divine in some way. Again, okay. I think people rather focus on, for example, the miracles rather than what he said and did.
Right.
Because the miracles are important to show that he was God's divine being. I'd much rather take what he said and did and try and enact that in my real life, in my actual life. Now, again, it's not an easy thing to do. And again, the thing is, it's not for everyone. And again, that's the reason that I'm not really pushy about my religion. I talk about it for myself, and then again, if people don't want to believe, that's their own business.
Do you hold the position that it's that the authors were divinely guided in writing the text?
In a way, yeah. I mean, there was several times that God sent his viewers to run, and they obviously got a spark to write it down. Whether it be, you want to say God started the spark, but whether sparks of somebody's creative juices to write down a story. Let's say, for example, this is important. We need to write about this. Whatever you want to say, start about, would they be creative juices or, just journalistic integrity, whatever you want to call it. These were obviously important stories that they wanted to get down about their culture.
What about like the prophecies, like the eschatology of it? Like, do you share the same eschatological views?
Pardon?
Like the end of time and things like that, like all these the prophesied return of an anointed one and things of that nature.
You talk about Revelation.
Well, Daniel, Revelation, the other more apocalyptic literature, yeah.
Well, the thing is with Revelation, it was talking about, I think it was the war between the barbarians and the Roman hordes. I think I'm right about that. I think that's the historical context of it. And it's a apocryphal writing of that particular point. So,
right, but like in the Gospels, though, like Jesus is presented as if he is this anointed one, this fulfillment of the Old Testament, and that when he after he dies and he returns, before he ascends, he says, that I will return, and that he will come back, and that and in the Gospels he makes this association to some texts like in Daniel 7, talks about the Son of Man returning on the cloud. So do you hold that view about Jesus, or I guess it really just kind of involves how do you see Jesus?
How do I see him? As a historical figure, but also a figure of spiritual leading. So, like, for example, that he was carrying God's word on his back. Now, again, like, has everybody who claims to follow him, spread his word? Not really, no. But again, I try and follow what he taught. So I do think he was a imbuement of God's will on earth. But again, like, that's a personal position. There are secular readings which take all the God and non-religious the religious parts out of it, and go with the total secular reading of him of just being a good philosophical teacher, like, for example, Socrates or Aristotle, for example.
Gotcha.
No, I personally don't believe that, but
one of the reasons I was asking about that is because while I understand your position on the LGBTQ community, and I applaud you for that position, as it's a minority position coming from a person who believes in the Bible. If you believe, I realize that not everyone believes that the Bible is the Word of God. A lot of people say that it contains the Word of God, which is why I asked that question. But if you're coming from the point of view that the Bible is the Word of God, that the people who wrote it were inspired by God, the Bible clearly says that homosexuality is an abomination, and people who practice homosexuality should be put to death. And I'm wondering how you square believing that this is the Word of God with your belief that that is not true.
Okay. There are many people who say that verse has been mistranslated from, I believe it's from young person or young man. So it's talking about gay pedophilia. It wasn't talking about, and even if it were, but again, me personally, like, even if it did say that, Jesus himself.
It doesn't denote a sexual relationship necessarily. It doesn't necessitate they had a sexual relationship. It was, it really depends on the time period in which it's taking place and the location that it's taking place. In some places, it was a way of like introducing them into the military, like kind of like an initiation rite. Mm-hmm. And some of it was sexual, but it wasn't. It was consensual, and it wasn't seen as homosexual.
Mm-hmm.
It's Jason Ellis in the comment section. He's Ralph Ellis on this, but a friend of mine, he's got a question for you about the early Quakers in the United States. Are you familiar with? It's
a little bit.
Yeah.
I know that as Granny pointed out before, that unfortunately Richard Nixon was one. With a bit, and trust me, like, people I don't want to be associated with, Richard Nixon's on top of that list, I can tell you. But yeah, I am aware that they were, because of their theological positions. This is the reason why I'm not really in favour of a theocracy. Because if you're because the way to end up against the wall is to be the wrong version of the right religion. And that's why I'm a huge fan of all religions be treated equally, which is that you can be whatever religion you want or be of no religion, and it should be treated with equal respect and admiration. If you choose to have no religion, that should be any strike against you than if you have a religion. So Quakers were treated horribly, and as I said, the main reason I'm a Quaker is because of the whole that they're large part in getting slavery taken off and all that sort of stuff. So me personally, as I said, that's the reason I'm a Quaker. I mean, I used to be a Universalist, but again, I went to be more behind Jesus because that was much more I wouldn't say they were seculars, but more like the teachings of all religions together with some poetry, with some secular poetry, to the point that we even had Philip Larkin, who was a avowed atheist, poetry being read by our the person who was leading the ceremony, was leading the church in that time, whatever you want to call it, the chapel.
It's kind of ironic. It's relevant to the question that was asked, that the Quakers, they moved to the colonies here in America, and in order to escape persecution and oppression from the Roman Catholic Church and pressure to adhere to their rules and avoid imprisonment, just to receive the equivalent, if not worse, from their fellow Christians.
Oh yeah. So quick. You asked a question, which is, Quaker of Pather is correct. Can you? I think yes, we can, but it's total. I think there's a word for it. What's it? Heartbreak Ridge talks about these sort of kind of things. I think it's like a
non-combatant. Field medics, corpsmen, chaplains, religious programmers. Supply clerk, right? Kelly, exactly.
No. There's a term for it. I think it's comprehensive objector or something like that, or something like that.
Conscientious objector. That's if you're not allowed to join. Period.
Yeah, there are some sects that wouldn't allow even a support position, even though it was non-combatant, because it contributed to it.
Right.
Mm-hmm. As I said, Heartbreak Ridge, if you've ever seen it, I know it was done by that total racist and anti-Semite Mel Gibson, but the story itself is a true story based on this guy who won the Medal of Honor, but was a total conscientious objector.
That's how Jim Hall got out of the Marines.
Yeah, so...
Do Quakers still sexually segregate their congregations during meetings?
Not the ones I've been to. But again, I actually go when I know this is probably going to go down like a lead balloon. I actually go to Catholic Church because it's literally like down the road from me.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy going there because I've introduced them to some of the fundamentalists on here, and some of their reactions would make you laugh.
They really segregate. What? Now I didn't catch that. They segregate their males and females during service.
Yeah, the men sit on one side of the room and the women sit on the others. The Amish do that too.
Yeah. Married or not, it doesn't matter.
I didn't know that. You guys have any other questions?
I got several, but ask yours.
During last week on social media, Gary was trying. Well, first off, you said supernatural, which we agree on the definition. It's a phenomenon that is not provable. It's not falsifiable. It's not peer reviewed. But if it does exist, it has to exist outside of space and time. And on that point, I do agree with you. But then you said it's unlikely to be the case that something outside our known natural universe doesn't exist. You said it basically it's likely that there's something beyond all this. Can you amplify on that?
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Michio Kaku, who people may not know, and he talks about unified theory and string theory and stuff like that. Stuff that's way above my pay grade when it comes to science. Trust me, because my degree's not in science. But again, he's somebody that I gravitate towards. Richard Feynman. He talks about the same sort of concepts, but not in the same sort of way. These are people that I've read who talk about string theory, and that seems to be the stronger theory than M theory and stuff like that. To my personal opinion. Now, again, somebody could say, "Oh well, M theory is stronger because of X, Y, Z," and that's fine. We can disagree with it because it's theoretical.
Are you a creationist?
No. If you mean as in denies evolution, no. If you mean as in God created the universe, then yes. But as it believes in a 3,000-year-old Earth, or believes that evolution didn't happen, no.
Do you believe that Jesus rose bodily to atone for transgressions in some way?
Yes.
Okay. That exactly is what you believe?
Yeah.
Okay.
But as I said, I think it's the least important part of it. The more part is how he acted and what he said to do.
So the resurrection being a supernatural event, how do you explain that happening? How do you explain a supernatural event that can only take place outside of space and time, taking place inside of space and time?
Well, again, we're matter, energy, and a lot of other things. You're telling me that a God can create the universe, but he can't turn matter from dead matter to living matter. Again, that's what I personally believe. That doesn't seem to work in miracle as well. That's a simple changing of gravitational neurons, surely.
Let's like something like non-divine, like the stone on Jesus' tomb when the angel rolls down and causes an earthquake and it rolls back. That's supernatural, right?
In a way, yeah. But again, like people can do almighty feats of strength. In real life, the stories of people living cars because they get that rush of adrenaline.
It's not a person doing it; it's an angel.
No, but what I'm saying is that I'm taking something that happens in real life that people can do in massive strength because they're adrenaline.
Yeah, I agree. Adrenaline, yeah.
And again, why could not adrenaline kick in when you get brought back to life and adrenaline kick in? It's going to seem like miraculous to the person around you, but it's actually a part of a true physiological event.
So you think it was Jesus that rolled it back, or somebody near the tomb?
Yeah, because again, people can do feats of strength when the adrenaline gets kicking. You hear about it all the time. And it's not because they're Superman. It's because adrenaline is cutting. Sorry.
So you don't believe in angels?
Not the way that most people do now.
In the gospel.
But I believe that there are messages to God that again people like, for example, that God sends messages to people, specific people at specific times to them. But I don't think they appear as actual beings, as humans. It's more like for example, like he shows you things in your life, and that's what you're supposed to do.
Do you think they're actual beings in heaven?
Yeah. But again, like I'd be totally lying if I said, "Oh yes, I know that." Well, I know that if we were all to go there, we would be as we are now because we could be with just pure consciousness. Because again,
you say we would or would not be pure consciousness.
I said that we probably would be because because again, I think there is a saying that because of where we came from originally, which was pure stardust. Our consciousness does go on beyond that based upon scientific knowledge.
So you think heaven is not a physical place, but is a pure spiritual place?
No, I think it's a physical place beyond what we consider our current universe. Because again, it's total speculation and total faith. Again, and I'm honest about that.
Okay, so you think heaven is a physical place, but not within this universe?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I don't believe. I don't believe in hell as in a physical place.
Well, why do you place it?
But I do think it's a place on Earth. But
is there any particular reason why you place it outside of the universe?
Just because if God is its universe and he's supposed to be with God, then surely it's there. You can't.
So you don't think God's in the universe?
Not in the way that most people say, as in he's a conscious. Maybe he has input into it, but not in a constant way that we would understand.
Right, like he's at the Sims game, but he's not a Sims.
Kind of, but not the same way. More like again, I don't like doing games analogies. But more like he can interject where he wants, but again, he likes to let us do what we want. Whereas and if he feels that we are going a bit awry, he'll send messages to us to try and correct the wrong way. That's why I personally believe again that people like Martin Luther King, people like that, were sent around to try and steer us in the right direction. But of course, what do? We kill the ones who want to try to tell them how to go the right way.
So what was it that convinced you finally to, like, after you had researched it and everything like that, what was it that convinced you to take that step and say, okay, I'm going to enter into this group?
Sorry?
What was it that convinced you to finally become Quaker?
Just because it was more into Christianity, and I wanted more, so that wasn't like, Assembly of God, or so super fundamentalist, because trust me, I'm not a fundamentalist, but I wanted something that was about giving back to the community, try to do good in it as best as we can, because nobody's going to be perfect, but try to do good, and even work with groups that disagree with us, even with people yourselves, there are important issues that we need to work on together as a whole to try and fix. Like, for example, whether you believe in God or not, let's say, for example, let's say it's stuff that we could probably agree on. A climate crisis is coming, God, whether we believe in God or not. I think we can all agree on that. World hunger and hunger within the UK, again, I don't know what it's like in the US, so I'm not going to speak to it.
It's just as bad.
Is it bad? All right. But poverty is something that we need to fix in all countries, because again, the more we can do for every country to get them out to the same level we are, the more those countries can start producing and fending from themselves. Start to, we can all start contributing, living together, and solve these issues before they become a problem. Because again, we tend to let them to get to the problem stage before we start fixing it. I mean, the way that my country has dealt with the COVID crisis, we seem to not deal with the problem until it becomes a problem. Like, every time it seems like, especially with this new variant, we're waiting for it to become a problem rather than taking preventative actions to stop it becoming a problem.
Yeah,
which is like
I agree with you. I think as far as expressions of Christianity, I think that Quakerism is by far one of the best, if not the best.
I would agree too.
And I even enjoy non-theistic Quakerism. I think that's a really neat concept. So in your opinion, since you're on the inside looking out, and you know more about the internal dynamics of it, what is Quakerism doing to inspire non-Quakers to pick up that torch and do what you're doing? I mean, or is it something that you encourage more after a conversion?
I encourage more. Again, the church, the religion itself does a lot of outreach stuff.
Right. But just a religion, though. Like, I know they help people, but how do they help other people help people? You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, they do a lot of food drives. They do a lot of work within the community itself. They spend quite a lot of money doing that work. I mean, again, I'll send you the money. I'll send you the details if you want. I think I've got 2019. I'm not sure about 2020.
I've seen like the clothing drives, the food drives, everything like that. But these are all Quakers doing this. I'm wondering, like, what is Quakerism doing to inspire non-Quakers to do the same?
As I said, we do try to do outreach, but how effective
so just
they
be
are.
An example, basically.
Yeah. So gotcha. Again, the reason that I've come on here is because, again, I want to have a conversation, not because I'm trying to outreach somebody, just because I like having civil conversations.
Gotcha.
I can't even scroll back up. Basically, earlier in the week, somebody was posting some criticism of Islam. Gary, you kind of you took advantage of that opportunity to let him know that it was at best a generalist statement to criticize Islam, and at worst it's prejudice. And then you go on to say, I thought everyone had moved on to trans people from Muslims now, meaning it's a form of bigotry. I wonder if you feel the same way about criticism of all the other religions.
No, because the thing is, it moves every decade or so. It moves. So in the 50s, 40s, and 30s, it was black people. In the 70s, 80s, it was gay LGBT people, namely gays. Because I'm old enough, unfortunately, because I'm about to be 40, to remember the AIDS crisis. And I was in high school a lot in that period. No, there's a lot of secular hate towards gay people because of the AIDS crisis. That anything bad was gay. And I mean, literally, those were the terms we would use. I mean, again, I got out of that mindset because, whoever people sleep with is their own business. And again, it's everybody's individual responsibility to be as safe as they are in whatever sex they're having. And it's not to other people. And then when 9/11 happened, it moved on to Islam and Muslims. and people will make up lies and say bullshit things to excuse the French. Because again, because being Muslim is bad, there are all these brown people that we don't like,
people were like against people from Afghanistan and from Iraq when it was Saudi Arabians.
I really disagree with you on the gay thing, because the prejudice against gay people goes way back before the 80s. I mean, go just watch the episode of Call the Midwife, where the guy reveals to the doctor that he's gay, and the doctor is extremely sympathetic, and yet at the same time extremely prejudiced, because at that time the law was, if you were gay, you were either put in prison or you were sterilized, one or the other. And that's the 50s and 60s.
No. I'm not saying that, because, like, for example, what's his name?
The guy that created the Enigma machine.
That's exactly who Alan Turing. Because actually,
Alan Turing?
Yes, that's the one.
Because literally, as I said before, Manchester University has Alan Turing House, and actually has a statue of the guy. I think he used to like sit at a particular bench, and we've got like a bust statue. And it took until recently, I think we're talking last decade, for him to be excused or expunged the homosexuality that he was convicted of. So trust me, I know that it was just as bad in the 40s. What I'm saying is, it was more of a secular thing than it was religious debate, because again, you've got to remember that back in the day.
Okay, gotcha.
LGBT things. I think it was not. I think it wasn't that recently ago that it was a mental illness. So so trust me, I'm aware that that. So the point I was making is that every decade ago it tends to go to a different group, and then, as I said, when 9/11 happened, it was Muslims. Because people would make up BS to defend their racism. I saw it firsthand. Because like the EDL, the English Defence League, was taken directly from members who used to be part of the British National Party, who are basically very far right, very racist, very sexist, very a lot of things, and they changed to Islam because Islam was that group that it was okay to hate. And again, when I see people, that I respect, people in the secular community, like the biggest one was when I saw Sam Harris go on, Bill Maher, and he pulled up something from the Sun, which is a bunch of nonsense, that British Muslims want to go off and join ISIS. That was a lie. They didn't want. The majority of Muslims didn't want to go. They actually wanted to go and fight ISIS. See, the things that Sam didn't get, and the Sun didn't, was the fact that the people that ISIS were fighting were also Muslims. See, and the thing is that, and then the thing I was against was something along the lines is, if you bring 1,000 Qurans, UT fighting in the streets in the Muslim world, I went, really? And again, I was like, you do know the majority of the Muslim world isn't in the Middle East. It's in the Pan Asia. It's in Indonesia, Malaysia, those sort of countries. It's actually more majority Muslim than anywhere in the Middle East. But again, facts don't matter as long as we can spread our hatred of Muslims. So, and the thing is that's the problem, is that we want to lie about a particular group. And now it's trans people. Now it's people like, we care what toilet people use. Who cares? I mean, again, I can tell you as a straight man, I've never cared about who's using my toilet to my left and right, or who's using my stall. And that's the whole point, is that, I try and treat everybody as an individual until, I try not to make pluralistic statements. I try and treat you as an individual as much as possible. While you guys seem cool. Again, there's a lot of atheists I don't agree with. Does it mean I think you're all bad people? That's it. That's the whole point.
So I think that you'll agree that, like, within Quakerism, there's quite a bit of diversity, and in the future there's going to be even more diversity. So the question that I have is, whenever we start terraforming other planets and going like to Mars and stuff, will there be like Mars Quakers and Earth Quakers?
Well, as I said, religion as is may not exist as is. I mean, the thing is that, whether I like it or not, religion as I understand it is probably going to die off.
That's interesting.
I mean, because it's God's will.
No, I think that's just people just being people. You know, people will change their mind about anything. I mean, the thing is that I mean, in a short space of time, and I mean, 40 years, we.
So
Sorry,
But
sorry.
isn't there a God that cares about what people believe?
I
right,
believe so.
wouldn't that be like a failed experiment?
Sorry,
Wouldn't that be like a failed project on his part? Like he went through all this trouble of creating and making everything just right for us, only for it to not go his way in the end.
But again, if he's provided examples, and we're trying to follow examples, even if it's in a secular way, then that's what he wants, surely. Because again, because every adult wants every parent wants their children to outgrow them. You know, where they don't need them anymore. You know, and again, like maybe that's what I personally believe that's personally what he wants. You know, the thing is that he held our hand with Jesus and stuff like that, and he's like going, I think he's just going, you know what, guys, you know, do what you want. But the thing is that even if it's bad.
But I don't think he wants us to forget about him, though, if he exists.
But again, like, you know, but the thing is that people will move on. Unfortunately, that's how we are as people.
I'm with Ralph there. You know, I think that the Islam ideology is so reprehensible that it doesn't really matter what the people do. I just find the ideology reprehensible, especially as it goes to women.
Yeah,
but again, that's more of a cultural thing than it is Islam.
Right.
That's more those countries, because again, they have to wear those head coverings because it's a lot of sun there. And that's what goes it.
But it's not just that, though. It's not just that. It became like it became. I mean, it may have started off as that, but it ended up being a brand, being a marker, an identifier, something to oppress and make decisions for her every day. And that's my biggest hang up about religion, is that there's nothing that any religion can provide, even Quakerism. There's nothing that Quakerism can provide that can't be found elsewhere with less negative baggage.
But again, I mean, what you mean by again, there's no negative baggage with my religion at all, because again, like I don't hurt anybody, don't steal from anybody, don't murder anybody, don't advocate for that stuff. I mean, the thing is that, like, you know, again, the thing is people on all sides of all faiths or politics, you know, like, you know, if you want to go there, you always find somebody who's a complete bad guy because of the politics as a whole. Now, again, I'm very left. Again, not everybody who was a leftist was a good guy, unfortunately. You know, I could go to communism and stuff like that. You know, the way that they would treat certain groups, or even what, as I said, full rights. I'm sure that the Conservative Party or Republican Party, whichever one, not all of them agree with Donald Trump and what he did. You know, again,
but in my opinion, though, like even though like you yourself don't oppress people and you don't do these things and you don't believe that it's right, that just by identifying with somebody who believes in the resurrection and things of that nature that people can associate with Christianity, you're a contributing number to that demographic. You know, it's like saying, you know, oh, I'm not on these guys' side, I'm just going to sit over here. Well, when you're looking at that side, it looks like you're on that side. Does that make sense?
No, I get what you mean. But again, like, you know, again, I can only be judged by my own merits, because again, like, as I said, you know, the thing is that the Quakers, you know, are Quakers good? No, as I said, you said before, Richard Nixon was bloody one, you know, so, you know, I'd have to be a complete and total, you know, immoral idiot to think that guy had. I mean, the guy was a racist, and there was a lot of other things, you know, that I don't really.
I think he was a closet Catholic.
Well, he said he was a Quaker, so, you know, unfortunately, we have to take him. You know, you know, I mean, as much as I'd like to push him onto the Catholic Church again, you know, yeah, I won't do that. But, you know, like, you know, he was one of ours.
So this was an ongoing. Oh, go ahead, Granny.
What do you believe was the purpose of Jesus' death and resurrection if God's intent was to send everyone to heaven anyway?
I believe it was to atone for what we do, for the bad things we do, because again, people can reform and become better people, you know, through him. Just because the thing is, you look at, for example, now the amount of people we have who go through the prison system, it's horrible, and we don't really reform them. And the whole point of Jesus is reform. Well, I'm going to use this term that you probably are familiar with if you're any sort of evangelical, baptismal regeneration. That again, you come out one way, you return in something else. I think that again, your bad things that are forgiven, and that you become a totally different person. The thing is that does everybody who say they are really invest in that? No, because again, it takes effort. It's not simple as just doing it. You have to put in the effort. And that's the whole thing that people think they can just say, I'm a Christian, and that's the end. That's the end point. No, that's the start of your journey. That's the start of the process. You become a better person.
Do you see God as doing anything?
Well, I think he influences people to try and do God. I mean, I have a belief through us, yeah, and I do believe that people are generally predisposed to do God. There's no, apart from really horrific idiots. You Saddam Husseins, whoever you want, throw at me. That everyone else, I think, does want to do the best they can with the time they have. Sometimes they'll do, by doing good, they'll do harm, unfortunately, which is, something that I think is something that we do need to investigate, because again, I don't believe there's mustache twirling villains out there, but I do think people try
easy.
No. I wasn't
calm down, Jack.
I wasn't talking about you, Jim. I wasn't talking about you. No. I just said,
Deadly do right.
Yeah, but you know what I mean, from the 1930s, where somebody's like, haha, I've got a cunning plan, that sort of thing. But the thing is that I generally believe that people are at base good. Again, I understand that you guys disagree with me. That's fine. Again, we could be adults and agree to disagree.
Yeah. Okay, sorry, I was on another screen. I'm trying to multitask. You know what? I need a producer. Anyone want to volunteer? Anyone want to volunteer and be a producer?
Well, Ralph Ellis has a good comment here. It says, if we're all going to heaven anyways, then be as naughty as you want. You could be a serial rapist and still go to heaven under most definitions of salvation.
I don't want to be that naughty.
I don't agree with that either, but I understand the mentality. What's the purpose that a lot of people see in religion is telling you how to behave. So if you don't need the religion to tell you how to behave, what do you need it for? I think that's what Ralph is getting at.
That's a great segue for the next question. I was going to ask Gary. A post he put up a few days ago. This was a long-going Twitter. No, I wouldn't say a feud. But it was a very spirited discussion. Let's just say that, and it was a very long thread, and I caught a lot of it, and that's basically why I wanted him on the show. That, and we've never had a Quaker. You said we all have angels of our lesser nature. I don't understand what that means. So first, try to explain that, and then you said I'm a good man. My beliefs help me become a better human, and that makes me think about the saying like, it's better to believe a uncomfortable truth than it is a comfortable falsehood. So even if you knew it to be false, believing it would still make you better. And would you rather believe a falsehood and be comfortable?
No, that isn't what I meant.
Okay.
What I was talking about is we all have people in whatever group we want to put ourselves, atheists, agnostic, secular, humanist, people in those particular groups that, let's say, we're not part of those particular groups, because they make us look like, as I said, on the Christian side, we have, as I said, I'd rather not be associated with in any way with like a Pastor Fred Phelps or like there's
or the Mormons.
Actually, I like Mormons.
Steve Anderson.
But all right, let's go to the total other like people who are total flaming, con merchants like your Benny Hinn's, your Peter Popoffs, your domestic abusers like Kent Hovind, your
hiding money in your bathroom walls, Joe.
Yeah, like, well, again, I didn't even know Joel Osteen did that. But you know, like total liars like Ken Ham. Again, and the thing is, people who promote anti-science, because again, like the thing is that because that makes me look bad. Because again, people say, "Oh, do you believe that?" No, it's like actually, I was a big critic of Ken Ham when I think it was with Bill Nye where he said that you know nothing would change his mind. It's like, dude, that's totally irrational.
Right. Or I forgot who said it, but somebody asked him that if God told him that 2 + 2 = 5, would he believe it? And he said, yeah.
Exactly. So that's what I mean by agents of our lesser nature. Is that there's always going to be people, you know, whatever religious position we hold or spirit or political position, there's always be somebody on our side that we're like, dude, really? You know, it was about that dude really thing, you know, like, you know, or the disgust you in some sort of way. So, you know.
So if your religious views don't protect you from that potentiality, from that happening, then what does religion, especially Quakerism, what would you say that Quakerism provides that can't be attained elsewhere? I'd say other than maybe the structure. I like how much of it is unified, but yeah, just as far as just the aspects of Quakerism, what do they provide society that can't be attained by itself, and why do you think that a God belief is necessary for you to do that?
Well, again, my God belief has to do with what I believe created the universe. It has nothing to do with good or bad or whatever. Because again, like my God belief has to do with what I think created the universe. Now, I believe that a deity, you know, however you want to define that, you know, even if I wanted to go for say, for example, the Voltaire or the Hume idea of, you know, God. I mean, the only one that maybe doesn't make sense with that is maybe the Spinozan idea of God, where you just use God as a placeholder for scientific things that we haven't investigated yet. So, you know, if I even wanted to go with that, again, that's my God belief. My religion is my personal work philosophy that I bring into point with my God belief. That I think that God has sent Jesus or David or whoever down to show us of how to behave and how to act. Now, is it perfect? No. But again,
I
like,
hope it's not David, because I don't want to cut off any foreskins.
This is the question that I was dying to ask you, and this is the big question. And I don't ask gotcha questions. I'm intellectually honest. I don't try to paint anyone into a corner, but I have. I just want to hear your thoughts on this. Basically, your definition of faith. The way I've seen you on social media, it sounds to me like. Well, let me just ask this: the word faith, in your definition, is it closer to hoping, knowing, or guessing? Or also, some other alternatives would be confidence or trust. That's kind of the new definitions of faith. But if you could narrow it down to what is faith to you, hoping, knowing, or guessing?
I'd say that's a very hard question. I say it's probably closer to edging my best, so probably guessing. Because again, like, you know, because again, we all don't know. You know, if we're all intellectually honest with ourselves, that's the reason I call myself an agnostic Christian. In that I don't know that I God exists, but again, I edge my bets. Now, again, it could somebody, let's say, for example, tomorrow find out, you know, the grand theory of, you know, how the universe created. Let's say, I don't know, I don't. Let's call the theory X, just for example. I totally says, but there was no God. It was totally this process here with this. You know, would that get really belief? The answer to that, if I was intellectually honest, the answer would be yes. Because again, I try and follow where the evidence leads. Because again, but I still would be a Christian, but without the God belief. And again, because again, I'm still trying to follow Jesus, even if because again, he was a historical person who we can follow, you know, different things about him that we can follow, just as we do with, let's say, Sun Tzu or, you know, Socrates or Aristotle, stuff like that. You know, And we're going to think of the spiritual stuff as maybe like stuff that people have tried to attach to him to try and understand what he was about, within that culture.
Is there any of that in Quakerism?
Pardon?
Is there any of that in Quakerism?
No, but that's my own personal position. Because again,
there's really no religion in Quakerism, is what you're saying?
No, there is religion in Quakerism. We follow Jesus, and again, we believe in God. But I'm saying it's me myself, because again, I can only be true. I can only tell what I believe. It's not fair for me to explain what every single Quaker, whoever lived believes. It's not fair that I tell you what I believe.
Would it be fair to say, Gary, that what you're saying is that you don't believe everything that the Quaker Church believes?
No, but Quakerism is really sectarian, even from church to church.
No, it is, yeah. Absolutely, because the one I go into in Eccles doesn't believe the same one as the same things as believes in, for example, Manchester. But there are similarities, of course.
I thought I was in a time machine because I saw a Seekers church in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, well, see, that's where Quakerism started. It makes sense.
Well, so some of them came from the Seekers,
Yeah, as I said, again, the thing is with me, I try to be as intellectually honest as possible, because again, if you're not, they get like because again, then you're being dogmatic, and I try not to be. I don't mean dogmatic as in follow the religion. I mean dogmatic as in your thoughts can never, your opinions can never be swayed, and you should always be persuaded by life experiences, by life. Because again, I've recently had my life changed in that I no longer try to do black and white thinking.
Do you believe it's possible for me to do everything that your religion does, like all the basically everything except for the God belief? Would I be able to do everything else, but except for the believing God part?
Yeah, I mean there are atheist Quakers. I think there are some secularists within Quakerism. I mean, again, I've never gone up to every single person that goes to my meeting house and said to them, "Hey, do you believe in God?" Because again, that's not my business. Their personal. Because again, I'm all about what is your personal spiritual journey. Like for example, both of you said that you used to be Christians and you no longer are. That's your personal spiritual journey. Now, who am I?
But when I was a Christian, God held value. I couldn't live without God in my life. I didn't think that anybody could live without God in their life. So considering the fact that we can do everything that Quakerism does without God, what in your opinion does God provide that can't be attained elsewhere? Like what makes God important to you?
What do you mean? Well, I think it's the truth. Shouldn't we follow what the truth is?
Right, but why is he important? I mean, the truth isn't always important to me. It's like, oh, look, this is how you write this in Japanese, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. I'm glad, but I really don't care. You don't have to care about the truth, but you hold a certain reverence for God and Jesus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I think that's the best way to live my life.
But why? What does that provide you?
It provides me a lot of things. It provides me impetus to be a better person. Again, I've not always been a perfect person. There was times I was very petulant. Because there was times in my life that I was petulant, I was arrogant, I was rude.
How would you say it helps you?
It helps me stop being those things.
How so?
And that it teaches me to have patience and kindness and understanding. Because again, not everybody comes from the same place, and to understand other people's journeys. Because again, for a long time I was very selfish in that, thinking that my journey represented everyone else's, but it doesn't. It obviously doesn't, because you two have had totally different journeys to me.
So where do you get this behavior from? Is it something that's learned through the text? Is it something that is like personally revealed through you, or the Holy Spirit acting through you, or something like that?
I believe it's the teachings that the meeting house gives to me. That they've talked about. The teachings that the meeting house teaches to me about forgiveness, about trying to be a better person. Because they've even talked about that it's a process.
Well, you're talking about like you being angry and stuff like that. Like God gets angry all the time, and like kills people, like just like freaks out. So like, I mean, you're not getting your behavior from that, obviously.
Well, as I said, the teachings itself have brought me to that point. And again, I still work in progress. I'm not even saying that I'm nowhere near done. You know, it's going to be a progress from now to the rest of my life.
Don't drown everybody. There's better ways.
You know, as I said, I mean, I can give you what I think about those first. You know, that you've talked about a local flood. You know, talking about
it's over the highest mountain. Over the highest mountain can't really be a local flood.
Well, the thing is that because the Mediterranean would flood. You know, and the thing is that because during
monsoon season it would flood, but not over the tallest mountain. If it was over the tallest mountain, then the whole world would flood. There's some pretty tall mountains over there.
Yeah, but I think that the sea changes. You know, mountains were as high as they were. You know, so I don't think it's that impressive considering we've had like probably 5,000 years of mountain growth since then. So you know, as I said, I'm not going to get into my personal interpretation because again, I think the term mountain is that. Again, it's probably more local flood than it was a global one. Considering that the Mediterranean would flood, because it's very funny that
the Mediterranean is a sea. If it floods, then everything floods.
If it overwhelming evidence convinced you that Jesus and all this was just nonsense, would you still be a Quaker only for the reason that you believe it makes you a better person?
I'd probably go back to being a Unitarian again, probably, just because I'd probably go to more like the secular, but again they probably would pull things from Jesus' teachings anyway. But again, it'd be much more secular way because again, if somebody presented that to me, I'd have to go where the evidence leads, unfortunately.
Okay, guys. I have one more question. So my guest host, you're going to have to carry me for the next 19 minutes. Okay. In social media, you said.
No problem. I've got plenty of things I could ask.
Oh shoot. Okay, this is my last one, and I'm shutting up. In social media, Gary, you said. We already talked about. Oh yeah. All right. So you had some. It seemed like you had some major problems when saying these are just my opinions, and people were just spouting their opinions. And you say, well, your opinions are completely subjective. I agree to some extent, but if the opinions comport with known reality and facts, can those opinions are more justified than an opinion that doesn't comport with facts. So opinions can be useful and they're not necessarily subjective. I bet Jim might have some pushback on that as well.
I'm gonna keep my mouth shut.
No, but I think that if one's opinion is telling somebody else, well, we're more right than you based upon nothing, rather than giving, well, facts A proves our point or facts B. But again, it was just a statement, well, our facts are right. Not really. So unless you've got something to back them up and you give them to me, then I can investigate it. Then again, your opinion is meaningless to me. Then again, like I can take your opinion as valid, just as an opinion, because you're just a human being. I should give validity to your opinion. I'll treat it as with reference that I hold every other opinion. But if it's what opinion I don't share, I'm going to voice my disagreement based upon that. But I'm still going to treat you with the respect that I want to be treated with myself. Yeah. There you go.
Gosh, Dan, that's
Do you
refreshing
think
as
that
hell.
Do you think the Exodus was a historical event?
Do I think the Exodus was a historical event? To some degree, yeah. I think that because considering that Alexandria had Jews in it, then it's more than likely there was a cavalcade of Jews within that particular part of the world. Was it every person in Israel? Probably not. But I think there was enough Jews that it was a sizable population.
But it looked like you believe like the Pharaoh's army got drowned, and there were 600,000. And 600,000 fighting men. Waters parted and all that.
As I said, I don't know enough about it on either side to make a development, and I like being intellectual honest in saying that I'm going to put it in the I don't know category. But considering that they were Jews in Egypt, I'm sure there's some nugget of truth in there.
Have you read the Bible?
Yeah. Which one? I've read the King James, the NIV, the Westcott and Hart. I've read the Nessel Allen. Which one?
I really didn't care which version, because from what you just responded, it sounded like you're not all that familiar with the Exodus story.
No, I am.
And if you're not familiar with I don't see how you could read the Bible and not know the Exodus story.
No, what I'm saying is that, for example, people will exaggerate. Like, for example,
Yeah.
I'll give you something that's a secular example, just to make my position clear. Like, for example, I think I can't remember the exact quote, but it was something along the words like, "To the north of the world is barbaric." Now they're talking about my country, UK, but of course we're not to the north of the world. There's actually another continent above us, which is called Antarctica. That's the north of the world. But again, that was the known world at the time. So again, everything's subjective, and people will often overestimate. I mean, you've probably had it yourself. I'll give an example that we could happen. Like, I took on 20 guys by myself. It was probably like closer to 5. But I mean, people will always say, I took on 20 guys with one hand tied behind my back. People will always exaggerate to try and make themselves look cool.
Okay. Yeah, but if the Bible is inspired by God, if the Bible is what God wants people to know about himself, wouldn't a omnipotent God take a little bit more initiative in making sure that what his word says about him is accurate?
Well, I think that him giving the the 10 Commandments was his word. What everything else was people putting down what they interpreted he did. Now, as I said, people will exaggerate because that's unfortunately what we do. People will say different things about different things. Like as I said, the analogy again. Get somebody down at the bar who had a fight last weekend, and they'll tell you they fought 5 guys when they probably fought 2.
So you don't believe the Bible is the word of God. The Bible's just a human book that people write about God?
No, I believe that it's different forms of writing. So it depends what you mean. I think, for example, I think that Genesis is there's a term for it. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's poetic fiction that was told, not poetic fiction, but your poetic history told very similar to other Middle Eastern books around the same time.
Okay, but I wasn't really asking about the genre of the writing. What I was really asking is this, is this what God has revealed about himself to people, or is the Bible just simply people's ideas about God?
I think it's what God's revealed to people throughout history, and people try to interpret that through their own lens.
Do you believe it's recorded accurately?
To a degree, yeah. But I believe that he showed Buddhists the same thing. I believe that he showed Hindus the same thing. I believe that he showed.
I mean, it's either accurate or it's not. I mean, if we're talking the Word of God, I would say that we need more reliability than even our dictionaries, our encyclopedias.
Is the Bible inherent? What do you mean?
Inerrant.
No, I don't know what the term means. I just mean what you mean.
I thought you said inherent.
No, I said inherent. Yeah. So
okay.
What do you mean?
Without error.
Like it doesn't have errors. Like it is 100% accurate.
But it's written by man, so and we're fallible human beings.
It's written by who?
Mankind. But it was good despite, but man wrote it down. So we make errors. We make errors all the time. That's the reason why.
Right. So was it accurately transmitted by God to the scribe, and was it accurately recorded by the scribe to the whatever medium he was using?
I believe that mankind wrote it down as best as they could, but we're still fallible humans.
Yeah, it's best of God. But is it? I mean, is it inerrant? Is it without error? Is it 100% accurately transmitted? This is what God told the scribe, and we can know that reliably. Because if we can't know that reliably, and we can't apply it to the entire Bible, then that doesn't really do much for me. It makes me feel like there needs to be like a part 2 or something, or a second edition.
Right, but the thing is that what was it trying to convey? What's the context? It depends which part of the Bible you try to talk to me about. Because again, you tried to talk to me about a kaleidoscope of books written at different times, using different types of writing about different subjects. You can't just say, well, one part of the Bible is this, and therefore that's not how you read the Bible. You read it all in the context of what you write about, what type of writing it is, what's it going for. So again, you talked about this whole pluralistic writing drives me up the wall.
No, I'm asking you something simple. And you can disagree. I agree that they are all different, but they can all be the same in some aspects. Many people, mostly Christians, claim that the entire Bible is inerrant, meaning without error. So I'm asking you, as a whole, is every book of the Bible without error?
No, because there's mistranslations in it.
You mentioned earlier that you think that God has revealed similar things to Buddhists and people of other religions. Do you regard holy books of other religions as of equal value to the Bible?
Yeah, the only one I don't do is the Book of Scientology.
Which one?
The Book of Scientology.
Ah, okay.
Because that was obviously written as a scam.
That's the only one? There's a lot more than that.
Well, I mean, I know people will say the Book of Mormon, but I think Jonathan Smith wasn't a bad person. I know people try and do that, try to put him in that sort of bad. But again, he was trying to do the best. I think he's trying to do the best he could. There you go. Let me put it that way.
Do you believe that he had those visions and found the golden plates and used them to transmit this new sectarian religion?
Personally, I don't judge other people's psychological states or what they experienced and what they didn't. Again, I try not to judge other people. And then
do you believe that he told the truth? I mean, that's.
Personally, I personally don't. But again, I don't try and put those judgments on other people.
The Christian religion is very clear that it is an exclusive religion. The only way to God is through Jesus. You shall love the Lord your God and know there have no other gods before me. So really, the position that you take that all religions are equally valid is really more of a universalist position than it is a Christian position.
Well, it's actually Jewish because they wouldn't have called themselves Christians at that time, but they would consider themselves Jews, just practicing true Judaism.
The Christians adopted that as well. You're right that both religions say that, but still, there's no question that it's reiterated in the New Testament that is the first and greatest commandment.
Right, but the thing is, if somebody's spiritual position, which is their own, has to consider the place that they're a better person in society than they were before it, then who am I or is anyone else of any other religion to question that? As I said, if somebody, somebody's a better, a better person. Let's say, for example, 10 years ago, I'm sure we're different people than we were 10 years ago. I'm not.
I was a pastor.
No, but you know what I mean. There's, I've changed recently. I'm sure we've all grown and matured and all the rest of it, and we've all had our different experiences, and they've all shaped us, politically and spiritually and whatever, and who is anybody else to question that? It's everybody's position is their own. Again, if somebody gets that through Islam and stuff like that, and is being a good person through Islam, I'm all for it. If someone's like that being an atheist, I'm all for it. If someone's being a Buddhist, I'm all for it.
How do you determine a good person?
How do I determine?
How do you determine what a good person is?
Okay, are they promoting charity? Are they trying to reach out to people who don't think like them and talk like them? Are they trying to try to tackle world's problems not in an insular way, but in an outsular way, which is like reaching out to people who do not agree with their position, whether it be politically or otherwise? That's how I understand.
Well, I agree with the core tenets of Quakerism, but everybody might not. So what makes you so sure that you have this this moral structure that you should be placing on everybody? What makes you so confident that yours is right and theirs is wrong?
I don't think like that. Again, I don't say that people are wrong. I say that again.
Well, you said like charity. Like, what if somebody doesn't do charity? I mean, or if somebody I don't know, if somebody abuses a food kitchen, they go and they get free food, and when they don't need it, take away from the hungry. I mean, and whatever you're against, what makes you so sure that you hold the moral high ground there?
Okay. If I'm spreading hatred and bigotry, then I'm being a bad person, because again, I'm targeting a person based upon my own prejudices rather than based upon things I generally true. Because again, I have to.
Generally true. Like, how do you know that? Like,
because I look at
what standard?
I look at the truth. If before I give to a charity, I make sure that it's doing the things that it says it does. So let's say, for example, I will not go give to a charity that is a fraud or something like that, or it does the things that I would not consider good. Like, for example, that's why I'm very careful about the religious charities I give it to. I try not to give it to the Salvation Army because of their anti-LGBTQ position. I try not to give to certain. I mean, I'm very careful when it comes to the Catholic Church that I go to, because again, I will give charity, but it tends to go to the community rather than go to the church itself.
Well, I mean, there are many Muslim communities that think that they're perfectly justified for locking up somebody who is of the LGBTQ community and even executing them. I mean, so what makes you say that they're wrong? Where is your standard, and how does it compare to theirs? They claim theirs comes from about 1,000 years exactly before yours was established. So what makes you so sure that Quakerism is right? Where do you get your standards from? What are you basing that on?
The outcome, because again, like we do a lot of good. It seems to work. I'm not going to say that it's perfect, because nothing is perfect. But we do the best we can, and I think that's the best that you can ask for anybody. To try and do the best. Because again, I'm sure there's things that they do better than us.
But you think it's good enough to encourage other people to do this? Like, that. I mean, you get to be pretty confident to tell people to believe this thing. Like, I wouldn't go and tell people to be an atheist if I was still struggling with my faith, and I was still not sure if I believed or not. I wouldn't be telling people, hey, you should really just drop religion. I would, I'd be a lot more firm in my faith before I started doing that.
Okay, but the thing is that I don't tell people what they should and shouldn't be, because again, my own personal journey was one that I took on my own. Nobody was holding my hand. Nobody was pointing me in a particular direction. I went from being a Church of England, which again is more or less a nonsense thing. No one really cares if you believe in God in that particular religion or not.
But I asked you what
no. I'm just telling you what.
Point. I'll shut up. I promise. When I asked you what Quakerism provided, that was good for the community. You said things like they inspired charity, and that they inspired helping the community and things like that. And you also said that it helps that you push people into behaving this certain way that you believe is good for them and will lead to good things for them.
But not just for them, but for the community.
Okay, got you.
Okay, but as I'm saying, I used to be an atheist. I'm no longer such. But again, that was my own spiritual journey. And the thing is, I let people go on their own spiritual journeys, even if it's to a position that I maybe not agree with. Everybody's position is their own, and they should come to it on their own. But if somebody's pushing them into a particular, I'm not a fan of that, because people should have their own spiritual journeys. Whatever I go wherever they want to go, not where other people want them to.
Do you
I know we
see
don't have time now, but I want to hear that story sometime. Your conversion story.
Do you see a difference between talking about what you think is a better choice and pushing someone into that choice.
Okay, if you're telling somebody that they're deluded or irrational, or on the other hand, you're telling somebody that they're damned, or that they're immoral, or that they need God to be good, then you're kind of pushing people into it because you're making judgments about the way that they live their life. Whereas you say, hey, if you consider this as an alternative, hey, you're giving them the choice, you let them research it themselves and come to their own position, rather than you saying this is what you need to be, to not be these things that we're putting judgments upon. Here's something that you may want to consider that you're currently not considering. Again, the way that I go about things, again, I try not to push my religion on others because, again, my own spiritual path was my own to go on. Again, I try not to force my religion on anyone else because, hey, I don't want to force them forcing their religion or lack thereof on me. What I challenge is when people spread hatred or bigotry on somebody else just based upon their religion or lack thereof. So if you say stuff about Muslims and I know for a fact that it's based upon nonsense, I'm going to challenge it. If you say something against atheists and I know it's nonsense, I'm going to challenge that. Again, I have appeared on G-Man channel sorry, should I mention he who should not be named? More times than I should have, because again, I like to challenge the fact that he's anti-LGBTQ, that he's anti-atheist. Again, I judge everybody on their own merits. Again, I don't like to get into this black and white thinking. And that's what I'll always challenge, black and white thinking.
We have 9 minutes for final thoughts, and I think we will start in reverse order. Let's see. Let me make sure there's nothing in the live chat. Oh, this is good. Can we just touch on this real quick? Tobin asked, let me paraphrase and maybe add on to it. Is there anything about the atheist position that you find just wrong? Are we in general just is there something wrong with our viewpoint, or is it just as valid as any other ideology?
No, if it works for you, do it. Again, okay. if you feel being atheist makes you a better person, go for it. Again, like, because the thing is that, like, life's. I mean, people now live to what, about 70, 80?
80. Sometimes more, 80, 85.
Worldwide or United States? I think it's 78 for women and 74 for men, something like that.
Probably the average.
You consider how short that time is, considering that the world's been here for what, 5.4 billion years.
13.
13. All right. Well, there you go then. The Earth's been here for what, 2.3 or whatever it is. And you consider.
What was your personal aversion though? Like, what was it that you didn't like about you believing it? Like,
but there wasn't a thing. It was just that, at the time, there was, again, I don't want to get into it because again, it's a very. I mean, I don't mind getting into it if you want, but I'd be like,
no, it's okay. I know. I have a feeling it's going to be like a long deal.
No. I could truncate it a little bit.
It is at the gym. It's his show.
But again,
man, get a normal blast.
Basically, like, I saw the hypocrisy within it. Because in one breath they'll talk about how bad religious people, treating LGBTQ people are, but then in another breath, how stupid all religious people are. Like, kind of hypocritical to me. And again, I still think it's hypocritical. By the way,
I think the difference there is one is an attack on an ideology, which is fair game, and one's an attack on people, culture, race, sexual proclivity. It's ad hominem. It's against the actual people themselves, and which is it might be subjective, but I find that a no.
But I'm talking about myself. That I thought I still think it is hypocritical because again, being. Again, it's like thinking, well, I'm against the thing. Why? Again, if it makes that person a better person, surely that's what we want as a society. We want as many people to be as good as person they can be. And hey, if they believe in God, cool. If they don't, cool. Again, whatever you need to be a good person or what you want to be a good person, whatever you think the truth is, you think that makes you a better person than you were before, go with that stuff, man.
I can get behind that 100%.
All right, guys, let's start with Kelly and we'll go backwards. Plugs and final thoughts.
Final thoughts. I would say that as a Christian belief system, Gary's is probably the least offensive one that I have ever heard. But on the other hand, I also don't really believe that it is a Christian belief system, as it endorses all faiths and not just the Christian faith, but whatever you want to believe.
Yeah.
And Godless
It's
Granny.
definitely
Oh,
heretical Christianity.
you're going to be filling in for Vice Rhino. That's pretty cool. But I didn't even know that the unfortunate situation with him. So that wow. But congratulations on getting that gig. Is that a one-time deal or ongoing for a while?
It's a one-time deal.
Okay.
They put it out that content creators that wanted to guest host contact Paulogia. And so far I've seen one, Paulogia did one, Godless Engineer did one, Digital Hammurabi paired up with, I can't remember his name. It was someone that I had never even heard of before, but yeah, that one was very interesting as well.
Wow, that's
As
cool.
Cyrus did one, he did one of his tweet nights.
Awesome. Jim, where can people find you and final thoughts?
Y'all can find me anywhere my kids aren't there. No. No, you can find me on Twitter at the Jim Majors. You can find me on YouTube at youtube.com/Jim Majors. You can find me at my house, but you can't find my house.
Yeah, I'm surprised you even have internet as off the grid as you are nowadays.
Man, I have a huge silo that I had to climb and attach an antenna to the top of it.
I almost believe that. Gary, final thoughts and where can people find you do have a YouTube channel? I don't even know.
I don't really use it that much anymore. But I do have a Twitter account, which is my old YouTube account, which is Bossmore03. Please throw an extra, a couple of dollars. I know it's near the Christmas period, so I know that people's money is a little bit tight, but a couple of dollars to charities down below. Please do that because they're all secular, so there's no But hopefully we can do this again. Maybe because I see that Jim has said that this is chuckle fuckery, which I'm getting a little bit worried about. I thought this was a pure civil conversation, but yeah.
Oh well, no. This whole existence is one big chuckle fuckery.
Fair enough. I can live that.
You said this in a DM, so I don't want to divulge it without your permission. But do you want to explain to the audience? Speaking of chuckle fuckery, you want to explain to the audience why it was hard to DM you because you had your DMs blocked? The reason for that?
Oh, that's because being a single man, I get a lot of females asking to see pictures of my day.
Oh, brother.
Yeah, for those of you who are not single blokes, yeah, you tend to get those emails a lot.
Oh, you were being serious. I've never been solicited for a dick pic.
There are worse problems to have.
Oh, that's funny.
That's one of the advantages of being a grandmother. Nobody solicits me.
I was going to ask to see your dick.
Oh.
No, I think I just killed Jim's brain there.
So this has been so refreshing. See, especially after Friday. If you guys watched our live show with Melchizedek Roberts, he was. He's a great guy. It was an amicable discussion, except Gary is totally juxtaposition. He's the exact opposite of how Melchizedek was. He answered in direct, precise answers, which is refreshing as hell. Melchizedek, he was like chasing down a greased pig. We couldn't get him. He was speaking in vague generalities the entire night. So this was very surprising and surprising progressive views, humanist views. It'd be great to get him to start a YouTube channel, maybe drown out some of the extremists that seem to be taking over on your side.
You wouldn't get any subs.
He sure would. I mean, his views are so. Many of them are so in line with ours. He would probably get a lot of atheist subs, I'm sure. That will do it, and it's exactly 90 minutes. Perfect, nice tight 90 minutes. I don't have anything planned except February 6th. I'm speaking. If you're in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, I'm doing Courtney and I are doing a lecture on at a Universalist Unitarian church. I can get you more details if you're interested, if you're in the area. And I need to book something, or maybe I'll just take a break until after the holidays. But thanks everyone for coming. It was great to have you, Gary. You're right. We should come on again and probably hit a specific topic instead of, generalities. Find a specific topic to talk on. But thanks.
For talking. It was nice meeting you, Gary.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Take care, everyone.
Again,
Thanks for having us.
As always. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.